Shalom. I just want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching the truth and sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there on the four quarters of the earth doing these lessons and going out there and teaching and risking your lives to do so. As we are near the end of this, another false flag, if you hadn't been watching, and this one's in Russia. 37 dead. Dozens of children missing after tragic mall blaze in Russians' Kemerovo. You know, just like they just did one in southern France. This one happens to take place in Russia. As rescuers continue to search the burned-out shopping mall in the city of Kemerovo, many have been tragically trying to reach their relatives, including children who were in the mall's cinema or play area when the fire started. You could best believe that this is definitely a Mossad operation. Some 37 people were killed in the blaze. The Russian investigative committee has confirmed at least 11 children were among the victims. So, you know, this one just comes right out as, you know, they're setting off false flags everywhere. More events, you know, to, you know, because we know it's the Most High himself that's actually, you know, kicking up off this war. So while that's going on, I'm going to show you another video here that didn't quite make the headline news, but, well, it was still on RT. So I'm going to show that to you because it's a Jake who was killed here in Sacramento.
We start tonight in Sacramento, where protests continue after the release of body cam video showing U.S. police fatally shooting an unarmed black man in his grandparents' backyard. The incident happened last Sunday when officers responded to a complaint about someone breaking car windows in the area. Police mistook the man's smartphone for a weapon and shot him 20 times. The victim is 22-year-old Stephen Clark. He was the father of two. Both of his children are under the age of 3.
911, what's location of the emergency?
Yeah, this guy's going down the street breaking windows of cars. He busted both my truck windows out.
The complainant chased the subject into this backyard. No further descriptions other than male with a black hoodie.
I got a guy in a backyard that was looking into the window. You got cannons trying to catch him.
Show me your gun! I think I shot about 5 times.
We need to get you medics, but we can't go over there and get you help unless we know you don't have the weapon.
Let's get a non-lethal, hit him a couple times with that before we, when you guys want to go hands, cover them.
Hey, here from Jake 57, we're coming in. Can you guys split yard?
We're here today because there's a crisis going on in this country and people's lives are being affected. It's our generation's lives that are being affected, and if no one else is going to protest, then we have to, and we have to step up and stop that. Yeah.
Well, I would want our president to tighten gun laws because
So people who are younger can't, like below the age of 21, can get a gun, but they can't get a beer or stuff like that, which doesn't make any sense.
Marching for their lives. On Saturday, March 24th, The Real News will bring you the voices of the thousands taking to the streets of Washington, demanding action to stop gun violence. It's being led by the survivors of the shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High. They say they want gun control and are calling out politicians and the NRA for opposing it.
It's as simple as this. Either you stand with the kids or you stand with the NRA. And we're asking people to put the USA over the NRA.
We'll also bring you the voices of students who are traveling from cities like Baltimore, who stand in solidarity with the victims of Parkland and say that gun violence isn't an isolated incident.
Bill Clinton, I'm here because people ignored the fact that our community has been affected by gun violence for forever. Ever since I was a child, gun violence has been a part of my community. They need to wake up and see that it did not start in Parkland. Though I stand here in all black, just in solidarity with Parkland, I'm here for my community that's been affected by gun violence, and they need to realize that it did not start there. They need to recognize the gun violence that happens right here and the people that we have lost. I just want to know where the support was when we needed it, when Black lives needed it. You know, before they wanted to address gun violence because white kids were dying, before it started affecting white people, before white people came to you because it was starting to affect them, before they were scared, and when we were scared every day of our lives. Where was the help? Where was the trying to get private funding for the things that we needed? Where was justice for my people?
Just days before the March for Our Lives, a school shooting victim was taken off life support after being shot by a fellow student at Maryland's Great Mills High. Pat Elder, who teaches GED classes there, sent his prayers to the victims and says the Never Again movement must also address the militarization of schools.
I've been working for 20 years to try to get people to understand that we have a violent culture, and that anytime you put guns into the hands of children, whether those guns are play guns, guns that are used in video games. The United States Army recruits, and their greatest technique in recruiting is America's Army video game. And so they have millions of children that are able to do a free download, and it's a first-person shooter game, and they get to shoot up people, and the Army pays for it. And so the Army doesn't really care whether the children's fingers are fixed on virtual or real guns. They just want to wrap as many young fingers around as many guns as possible.
The United States stands alone as the only wealthy country with high frequencies of mass shootings. We'll continue to bring you voices like Rebecca Peters, who led the campaign that succeeded in comprehensively reforming Australia's gun laws through measures like banning military-style weapons, requiring stringent background checks, and creating a gun owners database in the 1990s.
And the result of all of those things has been that gun violence in Australia has dramatically reduced. And it's not only, and the violence has reduced, and also the work involved in policing that violence is reduced. And as you said, we've never had another mass shooting. But we still have hunting, we still have macho men in Australia, we still have, we still do well in the shooting sports and all that kind of thing. But our country is much, much safer.
This is Press TV's Top 5. Thanks for joining us. Students from across the United States have poured out onto the streets of Washington, D.C. to protest lax gun laws. The move comes in the aftermath of the Florida school shooting that claimed 17 lives. Hundreds of thousands of demonstrators, including teachers and parents, have gathered for the March for Our Lives rally in the U.S. Capitol. Similar rallies are being held in other American cities. Student activists aim to convince American lawmakers to enact stricter gun laws. They want the expansion of background checks to cover all gun purchases and a ban on assault rifles. Ahead of the marches, parents of the victims of the school shooting in Parkland made emotional calls for action. Since the massacre in February, Congress has only made modest moves on the issue. President Donald Trump has proposed arming teachers in classrooms, which has drawn widespread condemnation.
So, anyhow, if you hadn't been watching also, over the weekend there's been more protests all across this piece of shit, Babylon the Great, for the gun grab. And, over a shooting that really never took place, but they want you to believe it. So, reading this from our local paper, Record Searchlight. Update, Reading March for Our Lives. They got shot for no reason. And, pretty much, it was a small but driven crowd of people who turned out Saturday morning for the 2-mile march from Enterprise High School in Reading City Hall for a March for Our Lives event. And, this is nothing more than government staged. And a second march was set to take place, a student rally at 6 p.m. Saturday at Riverfront Park Amphitheater near the Sundial Bridge. And so if this is happening even in a midtown like Reading, this is happening all across. The fucking news is filled with this bullshit, and so pretty much, they want, gun control, and this is a nationwide push, for it, as you can see here, and it's all bullshit, but that Sacramento story, that'll probably, doesn't get a lot of headlines because, of course, the person that got shot wasn't white, wasn't an Edomite, so, but you can see, though, that even Esau controls Black Lives Matter. And then other things going on, I'll get to that article in a second here. All right, so anyways, the buzz. Jade Garden closing after nearly 30 years. Wellgate also to close. Hold on a second. This thing's just being a fucking piece of shit. All right. I'm going to show you the video in a second here, but anyhow, it says Wellgate also. I'm just going to read it a little bit. That was a long time Jade Garden customer, Liz Adams, as I walked into the Hilltop Drive restaurant Thursday afternoon. Jade Garden will close after business March 31st, ending a 27-year run. Peter and Cindy Tran, who moved from Sacramento to open the Reading restaurant in July 1991, called Shazan. The Trans changed the name to Jade Garden in 2001 after a remodel. But running a restaurant can be grueling work. Long hours, few days off, and Cindy then they tried and got ready for a new chapter. She told me it's been especially difficult the last couple of years. Area's economy continues to struggle and their costs rise, all of it affecting business. And you can probably believe that they probably don't want people, homeless people coming in there to go to the bathroom, right? Because you know how restaurant owners are here in Reading, they don't want any so-called bums there, so, what's happening is the economy's crashing, and then there's the Wellgate Sports Club also to close, about 2.5 years after it opened, and places close down all the time here because this place is, it's dead, but, America's going broke, so, as they keep on popping off these events, and eventually as gun control happens, then next thing you know, martial law, as they did in their. And then here's another one. Old Graphic Emporium building sells. If you remember Graphic Emporium on Pine Street downtown, and that closed years ago. So either way, even local businesses, they're all closing because this place, America, it is done, and we're at the very end of it. So I'm going to show you the other video here. Hold on a second.
Hi, this is David Bend, a business reporter with the Record Searchlight newspaper. Happy Friday, and what's in the buzz this week? I am on Hilltop Drive, as you can see, in front of the Jade Garden restaurant, where after 27 years, Jade Garden is going out of business. Their last day is March 31st. I talked to the owners, and they give me their thoughts why, after nearly 30 years, they're hanging it up. Also buzzworthy, if you've lived in Reading long enough, you'll remember Graphics Emporium on Pine Street. Now, Graphics Emporium went out of business several years ago, but a group of people have purchased the building, and they're working on it, and I'll let you know what might be going in there. So, check out the buzz Saturday online, or if you're old school, in Sunday's paper. Follow me on Twitter or Facebook or both, and as always, thank you for reading.
Now clicking on to the Syria news, and because this is what it's all about, really. It's a reason to go back in there, because they're going after ISIS terrorists, because they can't really say that Bashar al-Assad's using weapons against his own people. They know that this is not going to work, but make believe that the terrorist group still exists, even though here's what's really going on. Syrian Arab Army regains control over Haza town in eastern Ghouta. Damascus countryside units of the army on Sunday regained full control over Haza town in eastern Ghouta after eliminated the terrorist groups in the area while the others fled. Also, keep in mind, though, that they had also discovered the chemical weapons that the Assad government was supposed to have, but they found out the terrorists have that, The terrorists were the ones that created those false flags to blame Bashar al-Assad. So, it's just, and, they're proving it on a daily basis. So, a civilian injured in sniper shooting attack on Al-Fana in Kefra. Idlib, one civilian was injured in a sniper shooting attack on the terrorist besieged towns of Kefra and Al-Fana in the northern countryside of Idlib, local sources told Syria News. So that's kind of what's going on there. So, the terrorists are being defeated. Army secures about 1,100 civilians from eastern Ghouta, though, at the Wadin Safe Corridor. So, again, this is just these other things are popping off for this as well, because this is the Valley of Yahweh's Judgment, because that's what Jehoshaphat means. So, like everything else, though, just, stay tuned in and, keep pushing this word out while we still have internet, Shalom.